Good morning, guys. What's going on? Got Zoe Johnson here with me. She's going to get her nails did this morning. Uh, Today's video, I want to talk about my first month in life insurance. Good, bad. I can't give you a full time, but I can give you my experience. And if you are on this video, it's probably because one, you're subscribed to the channel, or two, you searched, what can you expect from life insurance, and there's going to be tons of videos on there. You're going to see videos where people are like, oh, my first month I helped 40 families. Well, that wasn't my case, okay? Not even a little bit. Now, granted, out of the whole month of November, I dialed for 4 days. I was still pretty busy with the lawn business, and I just didn't have the time to put into it like I wanted to. So I'd work, most of the week, getting all of my customers took care of, and then, like 1 day a week, I would dial. Okay, so I work with Real Financial, FFL, and anyway, all the uplines, the managers and stuff that I've had, that they've been great, really helpful. There's tons of tools out there to help you with. A lot of it is confusing. A lot of it is aggravating because you think you have it right and you don't. That was my issue. I thought I had everything took care of, and on the first, once my E&O insurance went through, that I'd be ready. And that wasn't the case because I was trying to use an iPad for one, and it wouldn't pull up certain pop-ups, and so I was only able to be contracted, with one carrier for like the first 2 weeks. Okay, so what happens is, first day dialing, when I would dial with somebody wanting pressure washing, the lawn service, I'm a upbeat kind of guy, and so that's just how I talk. I think a lot of these guys that are successful, and girls that are successful in life insurance, they almost sound monotone. And I think everybody has their own selling point. Somebody may like somebody energetic, somebody may not, but I'm just me. We have scripts to go by, and it's really just a guideline. So for the last month, I've been trying to take these scripts and then what I just sound like naturally, just to have a guideline when I am on the phone. You know, the first script that I got, I felt like I was using all these words that I would never use. And then when I did get to people that would actually still be on the phone, they would be like, what is this for? What is that? And I'd just say, it's just a bunch of big words for life insurance. Because they say when you say life insurance, that's a trigger word, makes them want to get off the phone. So I do telesales. I don't do any in-home. Not to say that I wouldn't, I just haven't so far. So my first day dialing, I was dialing for about 2 hours, and I I had a guy from the military. He definitely didn't want to talk to me, and he told me that he had retired from the military and the government was going to take care of everything for him. Well, I have been trying to get in touch with him since then, because I talked to my manager, because I didn't know. I'm new to this. Heck, if you're a vet, if you're a veteran, I would think that would be the way it is. But it isn't. The government's going to pay $255 towards your burial. And if you're a vet, then you'll get a memorial. If you're buried in a memorial, they'll pay for your plot. But everything else, you still got to come out of pocket. Well, I didn't know. So that was one morning. That was one. Had a bunch of people just go, what are you talking about? That isn't right. How'd you get my information? One guy said he wasn't worried about dying, that when he died, that his sister was just going to burn him. Which, cremation still costs. You can't just put him out in the burn barrel and say that he's, not here anymore. So there's always objections that come up. And, I don't get mad at it. I think it's funny. I have gotten when I was 16 and 17, I worked in a restaurant called Shoney's, and I had a total different view when I left that place for people in the food industry, and I've carried that on, for the last however many years that's been. Uh, just each restaurant I go in, I still have like a mentality that I'm working there or whatever. So I always understand from their perspective how the food industry works. So, um, same thing with life insurance and telesales. And now, the telesales is one thing. We're calling leads of people that actually did fill the paperwork or fill the application out at one time. Now, whether they knew it was for life insurance or didn't think it was for life insurance, or they say it wasn't, or they were just trying to get something free, who knows why they filled it out. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that during the day, you're going to have a ton of people say they didn't fill it out. But the way I look at it is if I can, talk to 300 or 400 people or dial 300 or 400 times a day and then be able to help one person out, that's great. So what happened my first day was I dialed for 2 or 3 hours, and I come across this lady in a neighboring town, and she was looking for insurance, and she had a ton of health issues. So I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know how to pivot. I don't know where to pivot because the only company that I was only contracted with one carrier. So I talked to my manager, and on the first day I was able to pass pass that one off to him. And I think he sold her like an accidental policy. And if you guys don't know about accidental policies, there you can get a ton of money for cheap, even if you have health issues. So that was my first day. I had like 10 or 11 appointments that evening, and me being naive, when people had said, can you call me when I get off work at 5 or 6, me being naive, I was like, okay, well, I'm selling a policy today. And then I get in 5, 6 o'clock. I set all these appointments, and not one person picks up the phone. And that was pretty aggravating, honestly. I mean, I was still hopeful and positive, but I was just like, why would they tell me to call them back or give me a time to call them back if they really didn't want me to call them back? So, fast forward to the end of that week, I was able to dial again on Friday. By this time, I was contracted through another carrier, and I had a lady that was same thing. She had a lot of health issues. She was wanting some coverage, and I was able to write that contract. So that was my first contract, and it was for like close to $1,100. So that was pretty awesome. The company that I wrote the carrier through, their commission isn't as high as some of the others, but it was awesome for me that I felt like I was able to help this woman get coverage, and then I was able to sell my first policy and kind of get over that hump too. I've had issues with that company getting paid because that's been almost a month ago, and I still haven't been paid for it. They had an error on it saying that I didn't have a certain certificate. Well, then I called twice, and I did have that certificate. And they go, well, I don't know why they would have sent it out because I'm looking at it right here. So twice I had to call to get it fixed. And then I called about my commission, and they're like, hey, the commission is going to pay to everybody except for you. And I've never seen that, so we got to turn it over to somebody else. Well, that's been 7, 8 days now, and they're telling me it's going to take 15 business days to get back to me on why that commission didn't pay to me. It paid to everybody else, but not me. So, the way you do this business, I mean, you can call your friends, your family. I text everybody that I was had as customers already. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I figured I would at least had a few say, hey, I'm interested. What can you do for me? But I've not had any do that. I've had a couple family members try to do it and then got denied. And, that for certain carriers, which now I'm contracted with 10, 15 different carriers, so I can kind of pivot, and go different ways. If health is a problem in one place, I can go another way to get people coverage. But a lot of people thought I was scamming or had got hacked because, probably a month before that or 2 months before that, they had got text messages wanting to know if they needed pressure washing and advertising pressure washing. And I know that's not the best advertisement, but I've changed. I've did differently with the business. So it isn't that I'm pushing washing, because it's 30 and 40 degrees every morning, and colder. So I'm not worried about pressure washing right now. It's all about life insurance. So I put some stuff on Facebook. I've texted some customers, but anyway, that second day I dialed, I was able to get somebody covered and write that policy, and it is active. So I know the policy's good. It's just there's an issue for whatever reason with them paying me. So I didn't dial any on the weekends. We've had games and other things that's kept us busy. So I hadn't dialed on the weekends. The way this business works, like I said, you can talk to friends and family, but for the biggest part, you buy leads from a lead source and you call those leads. Well, waiting on that commission to pay out so I can buy more leads has kind of hindered, I think, my progress. So then the third day, the next week, I start dialing. 9 o'clock in the morning, I talk to a guy, and he's wanting to protect his daughters. He said, I don't want to leave this burden on them when I die. I'm going to die eventually. And I think he was maybe in his 70s already, 71. I can't remember, but he didn't want to leave that burden for his kids. So we go through the whole process, answer all the questions, get down to the billing part, and he wanted to give me a debit card. Well, that carrier they don't take a debit card. It was only a bank account. And I didn't know that. I didn't know he was going to be paying with a debit card, because I had already mentioned his account, more than once. And then, even though he had a debit card, he said he didn't have a checking account, which I don't know how that works. I've never heard of that before. My managers have never heard of that before, but I was so excited, because I was like, okay, the first day I had to pivot and kind of send it to the guy, my manager, and let him write that policy. The second day I was able to write my own policy. And then the third day, before 10, 11 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and have this guy help for his daughters and write that policy. And I was pumped, but we get to that point and it's a no-go. And I said, well, let me find out what I can do. So I get on the underwriter Genie that we have, and they say this company, accepts debit cards. So I'm excited. I call him back. He doesn't answer. Call him back 3 or 4 more times. He doesn't answer. And I'm like, we just went through this process. He was so adamant about helping his daughters and not leaving that burden for them. Why would he not answer? And I found that, a lot with talking to people. I don't have a problem getting Social Security numbers or banking information, but it's like they get so far in the process and they stop. So, and like I said, that's how this guy was. I don't know what the deal was with the debit card. So that was a little aggravating. I wanted him to be protected. I wanted, to write the policy. It was going to be like a confidence boost for me to be able to write one the third day, because I had done something every day I had dialed. And then, fast forward like 2 days, and then we have a house fire. It's, up in the air, what's going on, talking to this investigator, talking to this insurance person, trying to get this done and that done. And I just didn't have the time to be sitting down and dialing. And then it's running around all day until late at night, and then you're dead to the world and you sleep. So I just hadn't had that much time. And, that's why I've not made a lot of videos or, anything like that. So then, I sent out a text message. My thought was, I'm getting deep into this 14 minutes. If you're still hanging on now, I appreciate it. But 14 minutes in, I try to make it quick, but I talk a lot. But I really want to let you guys know what to expect. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I have these people's email, text message, and their phone. Well, if they don't answer their phone, because I'm getting, put straight to the voicemail, I can text them, I can email them. So I send out some text messages, and I have a guy back and forth. And I thought he was just spamming me, thinking I was spamming him, and, just messing with me. And I answered a bunch of questions over about a week. And then he was like, well, I'll be getting off work. I'll be expecting to hear from you. And I was like, this guy's full of it. So I called yesterday. We get on the phone. Everything's good. He actually answers, talks about what he wants, what kind of coverage he had, and how they had billed him, and he didn't like that. And get it the price where he wants it, the kind of coverage that he wants. And I said something about, he said, am I going to have to sign something? And I said, yeah, it's going to be an electronic sign. And I said, sometimes they may just send you a text message and give me that. And he goes, well, let me wait till my girlfriend gets here, because she's better with technology than I am. So then I said, okay, I set a time to call him back. Well, I start looking through my notes, and I go, well, this carrier does voice signature. He doesn't need her. So, I call him back, no answer. Call him back, no answer. Text him 2 or 3 times, no reply back. And it's like, he has been adamant, for the last month or the last week of finding out this and finding out that. Why in the world would he not pick that phone up? So, that's how my week went with my first month went in life insurance. Got, for the biggest part, people were nice on the phone. I think the funniest thing for me is when somebody answers the phone, a woman mainly. A woman answers the phone and she's like, hey, hello. And she's so sweet and nice. And you go, hey, this is Jonathan. I realized that you filled out a request for life insurance. And they're like, it wasn't me. Don't call me back. And I think it's funny because they go from that super nice lady answering the phone to, I could rip your head off because you offered me life insurance now. So, I don't know. It's funny. I get a kick out of those people. I have, thick skin from being in the business already, realizing that everybody's not your customer, realizing that everybody's not going to want what you have to offer. So I've gotten some thick skin, and I just think it's funny. But that's how my first month has been. It's only 4 or 5 days. I have dialed some this week, and had a few people. They say I had one guy want to set up some, want to get some information, but he had already been with another company for 10 years, and there was no way I was going to be able to beat their prices. Super nice guy, but I just couldn't beat none of the prices. Even though I have all these carriers, I couldn't beat, any of the prices or beat the price that he already had because he'd had it in place for so long. So it's been a lot of learning experience, a lot of figuring out what I can do. I can't go in my house right now because it still smells like smoke and there's no heat, and I don't have anywhere to sit because it's empty. So I come and I sit in my truck with my laptop and my iPad and my phone and my notepad, and I dial through the day. We had a house fire, and it's been a setback, but I'm not going to let it set me back. I'm still adamant about doing this, and I'm still going to make it successful. I just had a little hiccup along the way. So that's my first month in. If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out. But yeah, I just want to let you guys know, and I'm 19 minutes in now, just how it went. I'm pivoting from one type of business to another type of business, and I'm just going to be up front. It's a good thing for me to document it so I can look back at it years from now. It's good for me, with pressure washing. I get guys all the time, and they have, to me, like the most common questions you could have. What kind of mix do you use? What percentage do you use? What's a good this? What's a good that? And I can tell them, just like that. It isn't an issue. I know what to do. If they have an issue here, I can go here. And with the life insurance, that's what I got to do. I have to learn all that so I can be able to be like, and if I can help somebody out, that's what I made my channel to start out with, so I could help people out. So I could be the person that I would want to talk to if I had this issue. And if I had the issue, even though it may have been not a big deal to me. It may have been a big deal to somebody else. So I'll be like, oh, let me document that. Well, if somebody started out in life insurance and they're watching these other people and there's like, oh, well, we sold 40 policies, the first month and made, $200,000 or, something crazy. I wanted to let those people know that for the regular guy that wasn't doing it full time, that's coming out of a different industry, that this is my experience. So, sold one, had an assist on another one, and had two really close, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. So, I definitely call them back again and try to get in touch with them. But just wanted to share that with you guys and let you know how my first month went. We'll catch you next time. See ya.